Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to plunge you into a narrative world where ancient gods are actively waging a catastrophic war.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking Dagger against Emba.
Absolute-
But the true front lines, and this is what's so fascinating, they aren't just trenches.
No, they're the keys of antique typewriters and really the vulnerability of personal letters.
It's a magnificent study in contrast. We aren't just here to track a divine conflict. We're following this intense personal and professional rivalry that's set against that backdrop of impending doom.
Exactly. The sources we're digging into provide this incredibly intricate story. It's all centered on the city of Oath and two really ambitious, fiercely competitive journalists.
And their lives become linked in the most unexpected, well, magical way imaginable.
That's right. So our core goal here is to distill the key insights from this amazing blend of journalism, mythology, and magical communication.
We're going to be tracking the profound character transformations of our two protagonists, Iris Winnow and Roman Kitt.
And maybe most shockingly, we'll analyze how information warfare is waged and how it's believed when the actual conflict involves, monstrous mythological creatures.
It really is a deep dive into a tale of letters, lies, and the human cost of trench warfare.
So to really understand the stakes, I think we have to start at the foundation.
Yes. The sworn enemy dynamic between Iris Winnow and Roman Kitt. They're both chasing the same thing.
That highly coveted columnist position at the Oath Gazette. And the contrast between them is it's immediate and so palpable.
We meet Iris first, and she is completely defined by her struggle, but also by her essential goodness. She's empathetic, witty, a brilliant writer, but she's battling just ruin, both personal and financial.
She's grappling with so much. Her brother, Forrest, is missing in the war, and she has this heavy burden of caring for her alcoholic mother.
It feels like her world is constantly on the verge of collapsing.
And that struggle is, it's etched into her physical presence. The sources make this incredibly vivid.
They do. She notes her handbag is perpetually light. She can only buy the bare essentials like a loaf of bread from this quirky, enchanted building that only shows her things she can actually afford.
Which is just a brutal, magical metaphor for poverty.
Right. And she's often described as limping through the streets. She has a broken high heel, a tattered trench coat. It's a visual of her constantly frayed existence.
And that low-class status is used against her, often implicitly, but it's always there.
Roman's initial prejudice stems directly from it. Even her boss, Zeb Autry, looks at her with this air of pity. He's always telling her she's out of her depth when she tries to talk about serious topics like the war.
So she has the talent, but she completely lacks the resources and connections to, really thrive in that cutthroat environment.
And then on the flip side, you have Roman Kitt.
The embodiment of privilege.
Totally. The narrative almost paints him as cartoonishly perfect on the surface. He's impeccably dressed in leather brogues and starched clothes, always punctual.
And crucially, highly favored by management. The suspicion, both from Iris and from us as the reader, is that his success is a little tainted by his wealth.
Oh, she definitely suspects his rich father can bribe Autry to get in the columnist spot.
Which is where she gets that wonderfully descriptive nickname for him.
Roman conceited Kitt.
It's perfect shorthand for everything she resents.
Yeah.
He represents this ease she's never had.
And that sets up the classic rivalry, doesn't it? The resourceful, talented underdog fueled by desperation versus the polished, privileged frontrunner motivated by, obligation.
But the column is more than a job. For Iris, it's validation. For Roman, it's an expectation he has to fulfill.
But what makes this narrative so special, and what we really have to spend time on, is the mechanism that just shatters this professional dynamic.
It forces them into this profound secret intimacy.
Exactly. The magical rift, this ensorcelled connection that binds them together completely anonymously.
This is where the story pivots, doesn't it? It goes from a standard workplace rivalry into something mythic and deeply, deeply personal.
It all begins with Iris's tradition. It's a ritual that's born of grief and hope.
Right. She writes these letters to her missing brother, Forrest, who's fighting in the war.
And she slides them under the shared wardrobe door in her flat. It's this little recess in the stone wall, a fixture they had shared for years.
She doesn't really expect them to arrive anywhere, does she?
No, not really. She's just carrying on this tradition, giving the folded paper to the closet, just like her Nan would have. She sort of operates under this comforting idea that some benign, ancient magic.
Maybe the magic in the conquered god's bones that's supposed to be under oath.
Right. She thinks that magic is carrying them away on the western wind, maybe even toward the front lines where Forrest is.
And here's the beautiful twist. The letters do land somewhere, not on a battlefield.
But directly in Roman's room.
It's such a brilliant reveal. We learn their antique typewriters are linked by this old, forgotten magic.
A magic rooted in their shared family history. Roman's Nan and Iris's Nan, Daisy Winnow, were great friends. And they were determined to keep their beloved, shared typewriters out of a museum.
And somehow that determination created a literal magical connection between the machines, even across the city.
So it's not just magic, it's a family legacy. And this accidental, powerful bond means that Roman, her rival, is suddenly the recipient of her most vulnerable, unedited thoughts.
Thoughts that are initially addressed to Forrest. This is such a critical moment for Roman's character.
I think his internal debate right there is maybe even more interesting than the magical link itself.
He admits it, right. He initially keeps them as a tactic.
Yes, he wanted to know everything about his competition. He saw it as ammunition. But you have to ask, was that really it? Or was he already drawn to the raw emotion in her writing?
That's a vital question. I think the tactical motive is his armor. It's the excuse he gives himself.
Because the emotional shift is almost instantaneous. He quickly realizes Forrest is her brother, not a lover. And he's reading her deepest anger, her sadness, her anxiety over Forrest's 5-month absence.
This is a vulnerability she would never, ever show in the office. The letters describe her life, her mother's struggles, the financial strain, all the messy reality she works so hard to hide.
And that vulnerability moves him profoundly. His immediate reaction isn't to exploit it.
No, it's to protect it. He realizes that if she knew he was reading them, Roman conceited kid, she would be mortified and stop writing immediately.
So he chooses anonymity to preserve the connection. He effectively sacrifices his competitive advantage.
That decision, choosing connection over competition, that's the true birth of his character arc.
And eventually he replies, anonymously, signing off as C.
But later he explained he adopted the nickname Carver,
which is his middle name, the one given to him by his deceased sister, Deloanne. By using Carver, he steps out of Roman Kid's gilded cage.
Carver becomes his real self. It's fascinating how the anonymity lets them both shed their social performance. They build this relationship that's purely word to word.
It rests on the fact that, as they say, some old magic is at play here, connecting our doorways. It's an intellectual and emotional intimacy built entirely on prose and shared trauma.
This takes us right into the theme of armor and trust. Iris, still thinking her words are traveling far away, shares these profound anxieties.
We learn about her shame over dropping out of school, a failure she hides, because it undermines her ambition at the Gazette. She talks about her worry for Forrest, her strained relationship with her mother.
And she pushes Carver towards his own vulnerability. She sends him that one letter that becomes the emotional crucible for their relationship, the one piece of armor letter.
Right. She essentially gives him permission to open up. She writes, "It takes courage to let down your armor, to welcome people to see you as you are. Perhaps it begins with one person."
And she shows her own contradictions. She loves her brother's bravery for enlisting, but she hates that he abandoned their family.
And Roman, or Carver, he takes that challenge. His response is one of the most powerful confessions in the whole narrative.
He shares his deepest, most defining secret.
The tragic, accidental drowning of his little sister, Georgiana, who he called Dell when she was 7.
And he details the specific, devastating moment, closing his eyes for just a moment while she swam in the pond, only to open them and find her floating face down.
The guilt, as he writes it, is suffocating. It has defined his entire life's trajectory. He reveals this inner voice that guides his self-punishment. My guilt whispered to me, "Of course you must do this."
And this confession directly links the polished, distant Roman, the one who feels duty-bound to marry Eleanor Little, who doesn't believe he deserves happiness, to the trauma of his past. The correspondence is his confessional booth.
What's so critical is the timing of this exchange. Iris is dealing with so much stress. She's just lost the columnist position to Roman, and then the shocking tragedy of her mother's death.
Hit by a tram while wearing her distinctive purple coat. And Roman, in his physical life, he tries to reach out. He finds her on her darkest day, offering this sort of superficial comfort.
But she's so intent on hiding her messy life and avoiding his pity that she just lies to him face to face.
That contradiction is fascinating. The physical Roman is dismissed, the written Carver is treasured.
Later that night, she reads Carver's letter detailing Dell's death, and she realizes he has bled himself on the paper. The emotional connection built on paper is so much more truthful and resilient than anything they can manage in person.
Because in person, they're defined by their public roles and their rivalry.
The letters are the only place where either of them can truly breathe.
Shifting gears a bit, none of this intricate personal drama would matter if the world wasn't simultaneously falling apart around them.
Absolutely. As their secret intimacy deepens, the external pressure of the world just intensifies. And that's all driven by the conflict between the gods.
This divine war provides the catastrophic backdrop against which all their human choices gain real weight.
The sources outline this mythological and political backdrop so clearly, even though the general population in Oath prefers to just ignore it.
So the combatants are Dacre, the underling, god of below, associated with wrath and destruction.
And Enva, the skyward goddess, associated with light, music, and inspiration, often symbolized by the harp.
I think we need to linger on the origin of this war because it explains Dacre's specific destructive tactics.
It's an ancient, complex myth. Dacre pursued Enva, but the conflict didn't really escalate until Dacre unleashed his destructive creatures, the Ethereals, these winged beasts on innocent civilians in a place called Sparrow Village.
And Enva, heartbroken by the loss of life, scorned him. She was forced to use her music to sing the innocent souls into eternity.
And the myth gives us a precedent for Enva's power. She defeated him once before, which shows her strategic depth. She used her music, the very thing Dacre wants to silence, to lull him and his entire court to sleep for 6 days and 6 nights.
While they slept, she emerged through secret passages to lead the forces against him. So the war isn't just about territory.
No, it's about Dacre, trying to silence the one thing that can ultimately defeat him. Hope and inspiration, which Enva embodies.
And Dacre's current motivation is just pure spite and calculated cruelty. Since Enva denied him, he decided to unleash the brunt of his wrath on innocents, knowing that Enva would be forced to answer and expose herself.
His weapons are terrifying. The Ethereals. We should probably describe them a bit more vividly.
They're these great wyverns. They have wide, membranous wings and poison talons.
And their usage is strategic terrorism. They're used primarily to carry bombs, targeting civilian infrastructure, towns, railroads, supply lines. Dacre wants to create chaos and terror.
What's fascinating is the sheer disparity in how this war is viewed. In the East, in Oath, there's this profound, willful complacency.
Zeb Autry, the Gazette boss, actively insists the war is old news and just a Western problem. He warns Iris against reporting on it, claiming it will all blow over soon. He's shaping the narrative to keep the city asleep.
The Gazette stance is a case study in information warfare, isn't it? Suppression.
Oh, totally. They push these headlines screaming things like, "Resist the siren's call to war! Enva is our most dangerous threat."
They've even outlawed stringed instruments in Oath, specifically to silence any symbolic or literal connection to Enva's music.
Autry goes so far as to label Envas enlistees, including Forrest, as weak-minded individuals who were seduced by mythology.
And the sources confirm that knowledge is being actively suppressed. Iris finds old mythology tomes in the city library where pages about Dacre and his true power have been
Ripped out, removed, torn away from the volume. The official version of reality is literally being edited to support the narrative of complacency.
But there is resistance. The rival press, the Incridin Tribune.
Right, they take the threat seriously. They immediately announce a paid position for war correspondents willing to travel into the war zone near the front lines.
And they're offering 50 bills per month, which is a life-changing sum for someone in Iris's position.
This is Iris's critical professional and personal turning point. She's just lost the columnist position to Roman, and she's had to write the painful obituary for her own mother.
Her job at the Gazette just feels completely hollow.
She's consumed by the need to write about things that matter. She believes her words can be like a line cast out into the darkness, reaching someone who needs the truth, maybe even reaching Forrest.
It's a moment of incredible bravery. She resigns on the spot, abandoning the comfort of stability for the terrifying pursuit of truth.
And she takes a job at the Tribune, adopting that fierce, memorable byline. Incridin Iris. It's her declaration of independence from the suppressed, comfortable life of Oath.
And her arrival at Avalon Bluff, the reserve base near the front, immediately grounds the theoretical war into tangible life-or-death realities.
She meets her new colleague, Addie, or Thea Atwood. She's a fellow correspondent who is driven not just by principle, but by this powerful philosophical need for experience.
Addie has that great line, right? I don't want to wake up when I'm 74 only to realize I haven't lived.
Exactly. And that partnership gives Iris the necessary courage and companionship she lacks.
The rules of survival in Avalon Bluff are just chillingly clear.
Marisol, the B&B owner whose wife Keegan is fighting, details the siren protocol. A continuous siren means 2 minutes. That's all the time they have before the Etherals arrive with bombs.
You have to immediately drop flat, lie down, and not move until the monstrous shadows pass.
The town itself has given up modern amenities. No bright electricity at night, just candlelight to avoid being detected by the bombers.
Amidst all this, Iris's personal mission is still paramount. She writes official requests to the command center in Mundy, desperately trying to find her brother.
She learns he was sorted into 2nd E Battalion, 5th Landover Company. But that's it.
And the sheer impossibility of finding one man in a massive, chaotic, divine war quickly becomes apparent. That uncertainty, that lack of resolution is her constant torment.
It manifests physically as that painful feeling, like wearing shoes that are too small.
And the emotional reality of having a lump of ice in my chest that never melts. Her choice to leave Oath wasn't just about journalism.
No, it was about casting that line into the darkness, hoping to reach Forrest, and hoping to fill the emptiness of that ice lump with meaningful action.
Now we enter the third section, and this is where the tension just skyrockets as the two rivals' paths cross again, forced together in this perilous environment.
Their face-to-face dynamic, which was previously defined by all that smark, is finally forced to confront the deep, authentic vulnerability they've only shared anonymously.
And it's Roman who seeks her out. He's lost his connection to Carver, he's feeling the growing darkness in Oath, and he's driven by Iris's absence.
Right. And his Nan, who's the wise old woman in his life, she gave him the context for his urgency. She called his family upper-class snobs built on new money, and she advises him, when you find something good, you hold on to it.
And he recognizes Iris as that good thing.
He arrives prepared, too. This isn't a quick, dismissive apology. He offers a genuine, anticipated apology for his initial prejudice.
He admits openly that he thought she was low class and therefore a threat he could easily manage. Someone who would give me no trouble.
And he fully, publicly acknowledges her talent. You're a bloody good writer.
This apology is pivotal because it recognizes his personal failings, not just his professional rivalry. It's an emotional alignment that immediately lowers the defenses they built in Oath.
And Iris, feeling safe in this shared reality of war, she confesses her deepest worry. The certainty that Forrest is dead, leaving her with that emotional void.
Roman, having read her letters, understands the precise depth of her grief.
And they exchange confessions about their gilded cages. Roman reveals his engagement to Eleanor Little is entirely transactional for the good of our families.
It's a duty he takes on, stemming from his immense guilt over Dull's death. He believes fundamentally that he deserved this miserable life.
It's the first time he connects the dots between his past trauma and his present misery to Iris in person.
What's astonishing is his decision to follow her further into the war zone. He realizes her presence, her letters, her essence. It's a light he literally cannot lose.
He abandons his comfortable life in Oath and insists on accompanying Iris to the very front line.
And that journey itself is a crash course in forced intimacy.
They're packed together in the back of this huge lorry rumbling toward the trenches. Roman insists they sit together, forcing Iris onto his lap to keep her from going through the windshield on the bumpy roads.
It's physical proximity forced by necessity, but it's just brimming with unspoken emotional tension.
And this proximity forces a reckoning. When he addresses her as Iris, her full given name, stripped of the winnow or kit rivalry, she notes that it scares her.
Like she's standing at the edge of a great cliff.
Exactly. The casual formality of their correspondence is breaking down under the pressure of shared fear and proximity.
When they finally reach the communication trenches, they get the chilling operational details. Lieutenant Lark of the Sycamore Platoon is their guide.
And he details the grim reality. Stay down, pray against rain, ignore the rat slice. But he also provides crucial strategic context.
He tells them the Inthrals, the Wyverns, are strictly reserved for civilian targets, like railroads and towns, not the front lines.
And that rule is so important. Lark explains that the beasts can't not differentiate between Dagger soldiers and ours from above. They're blunt instruments of terror.
Which underscores a critical piece of information for the listener. The front lines are dangerous from shelling and close combat, but civilians in the reserve bases are the deliberate targets of Dagger's psychological aerial warfare.
The war is designed to break the will of the populace, not just the soldiers.
And that strategic detail leads directly to the next pivotal moment, the Ethel siren incident back in Avalon Bluff.
Iris is covering windows when the continuous siren blares. 2 minutes. She spots a lone figure walking toward the town, defying protocol and essentially signing the town's death warrant by potentially attracting the bombers.
This is Iris's moment of heroism, isn't it? It's driven by instinct and a desperate need to protect the community that accepted her.
She sprints across the field to intercept him, and she realizes the lone figure is Roman Kit. He's clearly just arrived and has no idea what the protocol is.
So she tackles him, forces them both down into the golden grass, just as the monstrous Ithrals, with their cold shadows and terrifying presence, circle overhead.
Roman gets an immediate, terrifying education in the reality of the war. He experiences the sheer terror that Iris has been describing in her letters.
After the near miss, the tension breaks with a moment of professional respect.
Right. Roman retrieves her newly published war article, The Unexpected Face of War by Ingrid and Iris. He tells her the article caused a seismic stir back in Oath.
He notes that Zeb Autry fumed for days, but that her words made the city realize the war was only a matter of time before it reaches them.
He recognizes and acknowledges her power, which is the ultimate validation. It transcends all his initial prejudice.
So the physical proximity, the shared fear under the shadow of the wyverns, the mutual respect, all these elements finally bridge the divide created by their anonymity.
The stage is set for the inevitable but still shocking revelation and the ultimate catastrophe.
And despite how close they are physically, they manage one final, deeply significant correspondence. It feels like a necessary formality, doesn't it, to honor that anonymous bond before fully committing to the physical relationship.
Iris forces the issue. She challenges Carver one last time, demanding the reveal. And he replies with that hard, unforgiving name, Carver.
His middle name, the one his beloved sister called him.
Iris replies simply, I'm Iris. It's an acknowledgement that these are their truest selves.
Carver uses this final letter not for exposition, but for devotion. He defines her name beautifully, writing the dictionary definition, Iris, transitive verb, to make iridescent.
And he professes his feelings by letter, saying, I love you, Iris, and I want you to see me. I want you to know me. Do you see me? It's such a powerful statement of commitment to the real her.
The immediate, face-to-face confession follows. Iris confronts Roman, tossing his collected letters, which fall fluttering like snow, onto his bed, the tangible proof of their hidden connection.
Roman immediately admits he knew who she was from the beginning. He explains he didn't want her to stop writing. He prioritized her voice over his temporary advantage.
And the merger of the two men, Roman the rival and Carver the confidant, is complete in that moment.
He confesses the complexity of his feelings. He says, I was falling in love with him, referring to Carver, and yet my feelings became conflicted when you arrived at Avalon because I realized that I halfway liked you.
The irony is so deep, he realized he loved the person he thought he hated.
And the proposal is this beautiful, impulsive commitment born of the war's immediacy. He asks her, marry me, Iris Elizabeth Winnow.
And she accepts. She acknowledges that in the strange after of the front lines, she sees the fragility of life and the light they found together.
But that personal joy is immediately swallowed by the war's rapid, terrifying escalation. The bad news arrives quickly.
Clover Hill has fallen. Avalon Bluff is next. They have hours to evacuate.
Keegan, Marisol's wife and a captain, returns with the evacuation order. Roman, Iris, and Addie make the decision to stay and help Marisol and Keegan.
And that choice sets the stage for the terrifying climax. While Iris and Roman are at the front, Dacre's forces launch a major full-scale assault.
The chaos is immense. The deafening sound of heavy artillery, the close danger of grenades. And Roman, true to his new self, the Carver, who protects, shields Iris from a grenade blast.
He sustains serious wounds, his leg is damaged, and he's immobilized.
The situation just rapidly deteriorates into sensory chaos, and then the final, horrifying element of Dacre's arsenal is deployed, a chemical weapon.
A small, shiny metal canister that unleashes this thick wall of vibrant, sickly green smoke.
This is the ultimate act of cruelty, designed to terrorize and indiscriminately kill civilians and soldiers alike.
Roman, struggling with his injuries and the encroaching fumes, finds a gas mask. In this heartbreaking act of sacrificial devotion, he forces it onto Iris.
He ensures her survival at the expense of his own chance at safety. He is willing to give up his life for the light he finally found.
His last words to her, muffled by the mask, are the ultimate promise. I want your hand to be in mine no matter what comes.
He drags her around a barricade, trying to get her to safety. In her panic, her dizzy state from the fumes, she's pulled away by a tall man with dark hair.
Her brother, Forrest.
This is the massive narrative subversion. Forrest is revealed to be fighting not for Enva, but for Dacre.
And he deserted Dacre's command specifically to save Iris. The proof is the golden locket, the piece of her mother that Iris used to wear, which he found trampled in the trenches.
As she is dragged away by her brother, Iris watches the thick, corrosive green gas cloud spin over the field and completely swallow Roman Kit.
The man who had just proposed to her, the man who had given her back her voice. His fate, completely unknown.
And Iris is left with the physical proof of their bond, the silver engagement ring on her finger, but separated from him by smoke, destruction, and the crushing weight of survival.
So, Iris returns to Oath with Forrest, alive but burdened by this immense emotional fallout. The pain of survival and the crushing guilt over leaving Roman, that defines her immediate future.
The physical cost of the war on Forrest is just starkly apparent. He's aged beyond his years, deeply wounded, and he confesses the crushing burden of his experience with Dacre. I've done things that I can barely live with.
He confirms he deserted Dacre's side after recognizing the locket, finally understanding the depth of Iris's commitment to finding him. He insists she stay in Oath where it's safe.
And she agrees, just sinking into this realization that her life has been irrevocably changed.
Iris's grief is absolute. She clings to the one tangible proof of their love, the silver ring.
And in the aftermath, she laments the things she never told Roman in person. The letters allowed her to be brave, but in the defining moment, she couldn't find the words.
She concludes that she regrets most of all the words she never spoke. I never told you that I love you, and I regret that most of all.
This is the emotional climax of her journey. She recognizes the profound contradiction of her current state. Safety, coupled with utter heartbreak.
Yet, amidst this grief, Roman's influence is still a guiding light. She realizes that Roman had shown her that it's not a crime to feel joy, even when things seem hopeless.
And that realization fundamentally shifts her focus. She moves from perpetual mourning and hiding to choosing bravery and vulnerability when it comes to her own heart, even in the face of fear and profound loss.
The Roman she met made her better, braver, and helped her find strength and softness, a strength she can now use to seek the truth about his fate.
It's the ultimate statement on character transformation. She started by running from the truth of her mother's death, the truth of Roman's presence. But she ends determined to pursue the truth of her feelings and the truth about the war.
So what does this all mean for us? I think the narrative provides a masterful demonstration of how profound emotional intimacy can be fostered by, well, intentional vulnerability and anonymity.
Absolutely. Carver and Iris, separated by distance and identity, achieved a depth of connection that Roman and Winnow, bound by their professional rivalry, never could have managed face to face.
They needed the mask to show their true faces.
And it strongly highlights the necessity of reporting the truth over professional comfort. Iris's choice of the Incretin Tribune and the dangerous role of Incretin and Iris over the safety of the Gazette. That wasn't just a career move.
No, it was an ethical imperative. She understood that ignoring the war was an endorsement of Dacre's destructive agenda. Her words, carried by the magic of the press, became her weapon against complacency.
I think the most powerful takeaway here is the subtle definition of strength that the narrative provides. It shows us that strength is found in quiet, gentle places, not just in swords and steel.
Roman ultimately saw Iris's strength in her capacity for endurance and empathy. The way you hold someone's hand as they grieve, the way you listen to others.
This quiet bravery is what motivated them both to choose love and life even as the world crumbled around them.
We've explored a world where gods wage war, antique typewriters carry the deepest confessions, and the cost of knowledge and love demands everything from those who seek it.
And their story, built on layers of secrets and shared trauma, ultimately forces us to question our own guardedness in an increasingly noisy world.
Exactly. Iris finds that her words, written in the dark and carried by magic, are her greatest strength. She risked everything for the truth, for her profession, and ultimately for love.
Given the profound, dangerous consequences of their magical connection and the intense vulnerability it demanded, we leave you with this final provocative thought.
When the only channel for honesty is anonymity and the potential cost is devastating, how much are you willing to risk to communicate your true, unarmored self to the person you fear the most?
That's certainly something to mull over, especially when you consider the walls we build in our own lives.
We'll see you next time for the next deep dive.